Hello and welcome back to episode 8 of the Portadown Preview Show. I'm Neil, and this week I am joined by leading sports critic and totally unbiased Portadown supporter Chris Sherrard. Chris, how are you keeping?
Good, but I'm definitely not unbiased. I'm very biased, and so I've never hidden that fact either.
That's what we like to hear, a bit of representation in the media. Before you all ask, you'll all be wondering where my partner in crime, Dave Wiggins, is tonight. Dave, unfortunately, is embroiled in a contract dispute. He is wanting 500 grand per week. The board have said that's really not feasible, so we're in a bit of a standoff at the minute there. So Dave's been demoted to the under-20s for this week. So until we're at a contract impasse at the minute, but he'll be back, all being well.
He's gone too big time, hasn't he? He's got too big for his own boots now, Dave, hasn't he? He thinks because he's done all the commentaries and stuff like that, he's coming with the demands.
He is a YouTube sensation after all.
Well, yes, he's in that bracket.
So we have plenty to digest once again this week. Portadown have been in action twice since last week's show. We faced Ballymena United on Saturday, and that was followed up by a Mid-Ulster Cup quarter-final against Warrenpoint Town. So, Chris, we'll get straight into it. Saturday, we faced Ballymena. Unfortunately, we went down to a 1-0 defeat. Give us your thoughts on the game.
Right, well, I'll caveat by saying I didn't get to Shamrock Park on Saturday, unfortunately, because I got caught up with other things, but I've obviously seen the highlights and caught up on it subsequently, and it's very disappointing. You know, I was following the live updates on the day as well, and Ballymena really poor. I think they're a really poor side this season. You know, you look at the team sheet, doesn't strike you with any level of fear whatsoever playing against them, and yet they beat us at home. So you can't be anything but disappointed by that. You know, these are the teams. Said it before. These are the teams that we need to be taking points off. These are the teams around us. And I know what the manager said about he doesn't like the fact that people talk about a league within a league, but the reality is that it is a league within a league. We are competing against the teams below, around us at the bottom of the table, and we need to be taking points off them. And unfortunately, too often now against those teams, we haven't turned up, or we haven't got anything from the games. And Saturday's a case in point, whereby we've been beaten at home by Ballymena. So really frustrating, that really disappointing as well. And you know, I don't know that there's too many positives you can take from the game, from what I could see. I thought it looked like a really poor game of football as well. Now the red cards have clearly had an influence in the proceedings as well. However, we're at home, and we're playing against a team that we should be taking points off, I think. So very disappointing afternoon again, and I don't know that there's anything joyous you can really attribute to the game.
Yeah, like I'll be really honest, I was very disappointed with the result. I thought it was a golden opportunity to, you know, especially to build on, you know, the good result against Warrenpoint the previous week, the previous fixture. Obviously the Clipmill game was postponed, but unfortunately it wasn't to be. The thing that really wound me up about the game was, once again, Keelan Loughran has managed to wind our players up, and he's got a reaction. And now, like, you know, I've seen it back on We Are Ports TV, and yes, a foot was flung out, but Keelan Loughran has definitely made a meal of that. It was a sniper up on the stand, but even then, it's just stupidity. Now, me personally, I think they've targeted Oisin because he is a young lad, and he wears his heart in his sleeve, and he's fallen into the trap. And I listened to the post-match interview, and you know, the gaffer said he apologised for that, and fair play. You know, he learned from it, and it is the inexperience that, you know, not even just him, but the team in general sort of has. You know, and then Nathan Kerr getting sent off as well, 2 bookings. Don't really think he could argue, to be honest. But yeah, it was the Loughran thing. Just every time, it's like a broken record. That boy just gets underneath our skin, but you know, they hung in there and stuff, and it's just disappointing to concede at the end. And it is a disappointing result because Ballymena weren't exactly pulling up any trees. But you know, Tippy said it the other week in the interview. it's, you're Chris, you're saying there about the games in and around us. Carrick, ill discipline cost us in that game. We were comfortable, and then the penalty, the game on Saturday there. I'm obviously not going to sit here and say it's an absolutely world-class performance, but ill discipline essentially has cost us. And there's other games as well, like the Warrenpoint game. Okay, we came back and won. We gave a penalty away. It wasn't a penalty, in my opinion. We eventually came back and won, but it's just sort of like, if we don't learn from these dopey things, we are going to be punished. And I felt like earlier on the start of the season, we weren't getting the rub of the green, but at the minute, I sort of feel like what's the word? It's as if we're plotting our own downfall, if you know what I mean. Yeah. And it's sort of just like, just learn from that. But it's against a team like Ballymena, again, they haven't started off well, but they do have good players that will punish you, and that's inevitably what happened. But when you're down to 9 men, it's always when you're down to 10 men, it's an uphill task. But whenever you're down to 9, you're climbing a mountain. So they got punished.
There's a real naivety, I think, creeping in, or not creeping in, but there it exists. It's clear to see that we're just making naive errors at times and shooting ourselves in the foot, as you say. And you can't afford to do that, because you need to be as disciplined as you possibly can be in this league. You need to have your wits about you. You need to not make any daft, silly errors. You need to be able to then give yourself a chance and a platform to go and take something from games. And if you're getting sendings off, or you're giving away free kicks on the edge of the box, you're asking for trouble. Definitely are. I agree with you about Keelan Loughran as well. We've been there so many times with him that you have to know what he's going to be up against, what he's going to be up to. But the thing that probably, now this might be petty, the thing that really irritated me around that whole incident was Ross Redmond running to the fourth official. Like, I've never seen him so animated, and he was dashing across, and his arms were flailing about, really trying to get Oisin sent off. And there's no need for that. You don't like to see that sort of thing. We know what we're getting with Keelan, but I was disappointed with Ross with that as well. And it's a competitive game. Of course, he wants to win, but I was disappointed to see that sort of carry on going on as well. But like, that's not the reason Ross trying to get one of our players sent off isn't the reason we lost the game. We lost the game because that word naivety, and I think we need to cut that out pretty quickly. Otherwise, we're going to be really struggling coming into the second half of the season, I think.
Yeah. Well, again, it's not really a saving grace, but at the same time, teams in and around us got beat at the weekend as well. And this time last season, we were in a similar position, and then eventually went on to turn it round. Would you be worried at the minute if we don't start turning the results around, especially with the run of fixtures we have coming up, that you'd be worried that we would get cut adrift, which hasn't happened at the minute, but that's always something, that you'd be worried about?
I'm not worried about getting caught adrift, because I think Dungannon and Warrenpoint I don't see them kicking on, really. They're going to be, the three of us are going to be there. I think Ballymena should really be there, but Saturday was so disappointing, the way that they were able to come to Shamrock Park and take all the 3 points. Because I say again, they're a really poor team, Ballymena, this season. There's nothing striking about them. There's nothing that makes me think, yeah, well, they have enough there to be up top half. Definitely not. So they should really be in that mini league, but they're probably not going to be. It's going to be the three of us. So from that point of view, I think we're going to fight that out to the end. The three teams that are down there, I don't see anything to suggest otherwise. Now, the next, looking just at the league, is three of the toughest away games that you could potentially have there, with Glentoran Saturday, then we have to go up to Coleraine, and then we go to Cliftonville, obviously top of the league, flying at the minute, and then we've got Linfield at home coming up as well. That run of 4 games is really hard. So look, if you're going to say, how much do we expect to take from those games, then it's probably, we'll have to manage expectations on that front. But where we need to see something is in the performances. I think we need to see enough in those 4 games from the performance level to suggest we're good enough to be comfortable this season and not really be the team to prop up the rest. So that has to start on Saturday, and the level of performance hasn't been as high as it needs to be so far this season. You know, bar a couple of exceptions, second half against Warrenpoint, etc. Apart from that, Linfield at home, apart from that, as the level of performance, I don't think has been good enough, and it has to improve. So not only has the level of naivety we have to get rid of that, but I think we have to lift the performance levels now and really have a go and give ourselves enough confidence that we can, you know, even if we don't take anything from those games, at least when we do play the teams around us, we'll beat them. You know, we need that confidence. Needs to get a shot in the arm now, because I think it feels like it's suffering. Really, I think the Dungannon game really knocked the confidence. Obviously, the Warrenpoint with a bounce back second half, give it a lift. It's a shame we didn't get to play the following week, because we could have built on that in momentum terms. But Saturday was a real disappointment. So we need to try and find that momentum again.
Yeah, momentum's key. And as you say, you know, with some really tough fixtures coming up here, and we will get into them in due course. But we'll not dwell too much in the Ballymena game. We'll move on last night. So this is being recorded on Wednesday night. So last night, Tuesday night, there we played Warrenpoint in the Mid-Ulster Cup. Now we went down to a 5-2 defeat, and I'm sure people looking plainly at the score, people that aren't involved with Portadown and Warrenpoint will probably go, oh, look, Warrenpoint absolutely wiped the floor with Portadown, another night crisis or whatever. But there's the old phrase thrown around, men against boys, and that's actually what it was, because Portadown played a very youthful side. Warrenpoint played a full-strength side, and you can't begrudge them on that, because they're looking to build momentum themselves. And they're low in confidence, and they played a full-strength side. Porter went down 5-2, but there were goals for Harry Anderson and Adam Sally. Chris, we touched upon it the last time you were on the show, and we'd beat Dollingstown previously, and plenty of young kids coming through. Give us your thoughts on the youngsters so far.
Yeah, that's the bright spark. That's the glimmer of hope. Really, you know, the fact that we're planting seeds now, and we might not see those bear fruit this season necessarily, or even next season, but it's a long-term mission. So I get all that. That's great to see going on. There's no doubt there's good talent there, and it was good to see them getting a run out again on Tuesday night. But I'm conflicted, I have to say, because the cups, you know, there's only so many cups that we play in. Now I get the fact that you want to blood the youngsters and get that, but I want us to win something. And are we going to win? We're going to win the league? No. So that reduces it to League Cup, Irish Cup, Mid-Ulster Cup, doesn't it? Now we're out of the Mid-Ulster Cup. You have to look at it though as well, do you not? Because Warrenpoint have put a strong team out, and they're bottom of the league. So I'd like to see us probably be a bit more competitive in terms of the team that we put out, because I think it's a genuine chance of silverware. Now, it's all right, it's only the Mid-Ulster Cup, but many's another Portadown season was kicked on by the fact we went and won the Mid-Ulster Cup, and trophies breed confidence, and it's been a long time coming since we won a trophy. So I'd like to see some silverware. So that's out of the window now. So now we're looking at the League Cup and potentially the Irish Cup if the draw is kind to us, really. So I'm a bit conflicted. Like, I understand the approach that's being taken, and I have no real qualms about it. You know, it's good to see those young players get a chance to play against men. But equally, did we have a chance of winning that game? Like, obviously you set out to try and win, but as soon as you see the team sheet, you're thinking, well, it's going to be a tough evening. It's going to be difficult to win the game, you know, and it is disappointing from that level. But I watched the game, and there were definitely highlights in terms of some of the performances. The young right back played well. Some of the others, you know, it was difficult at the back for the young fellas, but I thought they performed pretty well in the face of the big Alan O'Sullivan. People like that playing against you is always going to be a test. But yeah, maybe I'm too stuck in the past and stuck in that way of let's try and win a trophy sort of thing. But I would dearly love to see silverware again, and that's another opportunity to get it gone for me. So yeah, like I say, I'm a bit conflicted by the result.
No, listen, I 100% agree with you. To me, any competition you're in, you want to win it. Now, me personally, I think the provincial competitions now are a bit of a joke. Being honest, I I just think in this day and age, I don't really think the provincial competitions particularly makes sense. I suppose that's a topic of conversation for another day. But I do agree, you should be trying to win it. But then at the same time, I totally get why they're doing it, because we don't have a big squad, to be honest, and we do have a monster run of games coming up. So I can see why the kids are put in there as well. But of course, you want it to win, and I'm sure Matthew wants to win as well. But he's, I suppose it's the juggling act and the joy of being manager, or there's the joys of management, so to speak. You have to make these tough decisions. But I mean, I was impressed. I like Harry Murphy at the back. I think he's one for the future. And then young Tommy Smith was actually captain the side last night, so it was a congratulations to him. That's an incredible achievement. And his dad was very proud. I saw his tweet. So that's a moment to savor for the Smith family. So congratulations. But it's obviously disappointing, but it will man those kids up. Funny last week, just chatting about it on the show, we were saying about, back in the day when I was that age and all, it was like you're playing 5-a-side leisure centre, and now there's kids coming on that are like 15 for Portadown. It's just like, you could even see the size difference. Big guys playing for Warrenpoint, they're always been a physical team as well. And, your young lads that were like we bean poles, to be honest, but they're brilliant footballers. And hopefully, like you say, you're planting the seeds there, and will bear fruit, in a couple of years' time when they properly break into the first team. But
you know what? It could be sooner, because we're probably going to need it. We're picking up a lot of injuries and suspensions now, and if the old discipline continues, you're going to be needing to draw on those younger fellas as well. So, from that sense, at least that's a good 90 minutes under their belt against men, and it'll stand to them if we do need to call on them in the league. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, here, looking forward, we have 2 games coming up here within the space of a week. First of all, we have Glentoran, an old enemy of ours, at the Oval, a particular favourite away game of mine. And then we play Ballinamallard in the League Cup next Tuesday night. Before we get into the Glentoran game, actually, we'll speak about Ballinamallard game, just because you were on the topic of cups there. We've got Ballinamallard next week. Ballinamallard have sort of had a patchy start to the season in the championship, but they've always been a side. Well, we've had plenty of battles with them over the years. On their day, they can cause a lot of damage. The winner of that will face Ards or Cliftonville. Again, Ards are flying, but you would expect Cliftonville to go through. It's sort of like a card at the end of the stick, especially financially for the club. If they can get through, and if they do get Cliftonville, obviously you would prefer to avoid them, but realistically, the chances are you will face them. But the chance of a midweek game, plenty big crowd down, at the club. But focusing firmly on Ballinamallard first here, the draw has been kind to us, but a difficult game all the same.
Going to be difficult. We saw that when we played them in the championship. It was never ever easy, and it's not going to be easy in that game either. And I'm a bit scarred by the Newington game, to be honest, though, from the previous round, because that was a dire performance that night, absolutely dire. We were so bad, and we scraped through. They get 2 men sent off in the end, and that probably swung the game in our favour. And obviously, we lost Rory Crossgrave to that terrible injury, which probably upset the balance of things as well. But that night was pretty bad, but we'll not dwell on that. We need to perform much better than that. We can't play like that. But as a team, it's a similar situation, because Newington, that was a big game for them coming to Shamrock Park. Ballinamallard will see that as a big game as well, and a chance to, they like their cups, they like their cup runs, don't they? So they'll fancy themselves. There's no doubt about it. They'll want to come and take our scalp, and we can't let it happen, because, like I said there, the League Cup is one of 2 realistic, however much you want to say it's realistic, 2 realistic opportunities for a trophy. And there is that incentive to try and get a good draw in the next round. And I actually think, we could do all right in that competition. I wouldn't be overly worried if it was Cliftonville, if we managed to get through. Obviously, we had to get past Ballinamallard, but we've got past them, and we did play Cliftonville as you'd imagine it would play out. I wouldn't be overly concerned, because it comes down to prioritisation. I think Cliftonville, top of the league, they want to keep that going. They'll fancy the Irish Cup as well. League Cup's probably 3rd now in their list of priorities, isn't it? So for us, there's an argument to say it should be right up there for us, because as I say, it's a chance to get to the cup semi-finals and cup finals again, which we haven't been able to experience for a while. So, yeah, I would relish that one, and I think the players should relish that as well. The opportunity to go and get a decent run going in the cup. But yeah, if you take your concentration away from Ballinamallard for a second, then you'll be undone. And we've seen it so many times by so many clubs over the years. So we have to put everything into that game. But there's every chance for us there. I really think that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely an opportunity for the club to really have a rattle the cup competition this year. And League Cup, last season it didn't take place, so it was at that, I made it even harder to win a trophy last season. So, the fact now that trophy's there, it's an opportunity that Portadown really should relish. And again, if you did get past Ballinamallard, fingers crossed we do, you have the chance there, potentially a big cup night and all. So fingers crossed, the boys can deliver on that one. So before we play Ballinamallard, we take on Glentoran. But I just want to, we started a wee weekly feature last week called The Good, the Bad and the Ugly. So I feel like we'll bring it in now and then we'll touch on the Glentoran game. So Chris, I've sort of explained the premise to you. You have to give the good, the bad and the ugly, though you may have covered bad and ugly already. And then I'll do the same, but I'm not allowed to pick the same three that you've picked. So the floor is yours. Give us something good from this week. Now, it doesn't have to be Portadown related, so it can be whatever you want.
Well, my world is Portadown, so when Portadown lose, I can't really, I struggle to see any good, to be honest, anywhere else. Good is the fact that young lads are getting an opportunity to play against senior Irish League players. I think that's the good thing for us because of the reasons I touched on earlier. It gives them that chance to grow as players and develop and be stronger for the experience of it.
Yep. And what about the bad?
The bad's clearly losing to Ballymena at home. I'm really disconsolate about that because, like I've said a few times, Ballymena are shocking. I think they're a really poor team this season, and we should be beating them at home. So that's the bad. And the ugly, I think you can't look any further than what happened at the Oval. And I was there. I wasn't able to get to Shamrock Park, but because I live in Belfast, I was able to get across to the Oval to watch that game, and it was clearly as ugly as it gets. And I wouldn't say you love to see it because you don't like to see the violent side of things, but you know what I mean. You love to see Glentoran getting themselves into all sorts of hot water again, don't you?
Absolutely love it. In fact, I'm now going to have to give something else because that was actually going to be my good. That was going to be my good one to see them beat each other. So. Do you know what? For good this week, I will go with as part of the Ports media team. We have Richard Jameson. He made a fantastic video the other week about the under-20s, and last night before the Warrenpoint game, and we did a sort of a video, and it'll be out soon on YouTube. Richard's the tech wizard, and it was involving Jethron Barr and Adam McCallum, so it'll be out in due course, so stay tuned for that. The bad is, do you know what I'll say? You said the Ballymena in general. I'm going to go for the ill discipline and falling into the trap of Keelan Loughran again. It's like when you see Keelan Loughran, I just picture that meme from Return of the Jedi with Admiral Akbar going, "It's a trap." Just stay clear. And the ugly, I don't know what to go for that. I don't know. The ugly. Do you know what? It's totally left field. I seen Nottingham Forest one the other day. Their away kit is horrendous. That's the ugly. Have you seen it? Right.
I'm going to have to Google that. Have a look at that.
You know what? It's one of them ones. It's horrendous, but it could actually become, like a cult kit. Yeah, like that. So it just take a look at it and you just be like,
right. There's quite a few go down that route now of fashion tops, aren't there? And thinking, gone are the days where it was just plain and simple. Now colors, but it's all it's like someone's dipped their hand in a paint palette and just gone like that, and it's there's a lot of them like that now.
No word of a lie, that's exactly like their away kit, but I'll let you look at it for yourself. So before we wrap things up, as I said, we've got the Glens on Saturday at the Oval. How would you approach this game?
Well, like I say, I was at the Oval on Saturday for the Coleraine Glentoran game, and Glentoran weren't any great shakes. They didn't. They came into the second half. They had a good spell in the second half, but I thought Coleraine dominated the game, deserved to win it probably on the balance of play. So I don't think Glentoran are firing by any means this season. They're struggling. They're stuttering to get out of the blocks. Pre-season, I fancied them to win the league. I thought they were, on paper, their squad was it ticked all the boxes. And they still might come good because it's still so early in the season. I think they're 7 points behind Cliftonville, which is nothing at this stage of the season, is it? So I think they've got it in all departments. It was great to see, in many ways, it's great to see Luke McCullough displaying the talents that he has. Poor down boy, obviously, and he's a class act at the back. He's like a Rolls Royce defender, but in midfield, I think they can, I think there's a lot of big holes to exploit in their midfield. On Saturday, Jay Donnelly scored twice, but he barely touched the ball. He touched, one was a penalty and one was a flicked header. So if you can keep him quiet but never switch off, then but we need to start scoring goals, because we've only scored 9, I think, this season. 3 of those came in the Warrenpoint game in the second half, didn't they? So we need to start chipping in with some goals. And like, I know the manager's the manager, but to me, we're struggling to score goals because we're struggling to get support for Lee up front, and get runners around him. So I'd like to see us do that and try and kick on a bit. The abiding memory from going to the Oval over the last number of years is obviously the Irish Cup game when we were robbed and should have gone through, and they went on to win it, didn't they, that season? But that day we went and had a go with no fear, and they definitely looked like they were enjoying the opportunity to play at what is it's a good ground to play football in. It's one of them old-fashioned grounds where I always enjoy going to spectate at. So I'm sure the players go enjoying playing at it, and they have to go and enjoy playing at it and not be afraid of anything, like I've said so many times. And I do think we start games playing within ourselves and a bit hesitant. So let's come out of the traps, and Glentoran will be expecting. Like, Glentoran will be expecting to roll us over pretty easily, I would imagine, but we can use that to our advantage, as we always can against teams who are, in theory superior, on paper superior. We have to use that to our advantage and come at them by surprise. And really, they'll be looking, they'll have seen our games, they'll know that we don't kick, we don't get enough support up front. So we need to get the width. We're lacking in width as well, I think, to try and get that support. There's not enough outballs for me. Like I say, I'm not a coach at all. I'm just an armchair supporter. But I feel like we need to have more of a go. We need to develop some patterns of play and really try and get some support in the opposition half, because I feel like we're inviting too much trouble on ourselves. So from that point of view, midfield is probably going to be key, where if we can push them back, and that gives the support to Lee and gives us some threats to their goal. Obviously it'll be a replacement goalkeeper on Saturday for them as well, so you can always get at them. So like I always want to see Portadown have a go, and I haven't seen enough of that this season, and we're I really think, what have we got to lose on Saturday if we don't?
Yeah. You were saying there about the Glentoran midfield. Obviously, they've a really good attack, and they've got Luke McCullough at the back, who's super, and Paddy McLean's another very good defender as well. The Glens, it seems to be, well, from the outside looking in with their midfield, it sort of feels like square pegs in round holes a wee bit. They just can't get their balance right, and maybe that's an area, like you said, we need to exploit on Saturday here. And I love going to the Oval. The Oval's my favorite away day. Like you said, sort of old-fashioned ground and all. I just have memories of being bricked there when I was a kid. And do you know what it was always, you always knew it was going to happen. You were coming out and you were bricks thrown at you and all sorts. And it's just always stuck with me as a kid. And I love going there. I just always used to think, when you're in the away stand, the big stand at the far side, because it wasn't very long, but it was high, it looked quite imposing. I always remember Mickey Collins with his a few expletives walking off the pitch after being sent off before, like. But yeah, that's going back. That's going back 19 years now. Like, but yeah, listen, I agree with you. I would have a go at them. Just again, I'm not the manager either. Like, but I would have a rattle. You've nothing to lose because
their midfield is neat and tidy. They're fine. Like obviously the players actually have their most experienced players are probably in midfield with Plum, who's obviously played at different European teams, and the fella Bergamana, whose name I probably mispronounced, but he's played at Newcastle and different English teams, and Coventry and places like that. So they're neat and tidy. They're fine, but they go down very easily. They've got that continental approach where they're looking to pick up a foul, pick up free kicks. So you have to be cute to that. You have to be aware of that. But equally, get in amongst them, and if you're firm but fair, I think you can. There's definitely scope to, sort of dominate the midfield if we can. But it needs that discipline. You can't switch off. You can't give away silly free kicks, daft free kicks, in anywhere near our box, because they have the technicians to punish you for those as well.
And no doubt they'll go out of their way to try and wind us up this week as well. So we need to, as you say, not be naive and be a bit more disciplined, which just reminds me, actually, just when you said I had the good, bad, the ugly, I just remember that I actually had O'Shane Connery in my fantasy team last week and he got sent off, so it got me minus points. So cheers, Osh.
Well, you know what? I'd forgotten that I have him in as well until you just said that. So there you go. We're both losers.
Yeah. Oh well. Well, listen, Chris. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on once again. Thank you very much for taking the time to speak with us. And fingers crossed, we'll have you on the show once again. I'm sure we will.
No problem, Nate. Thanks for having me on up the ports.
Yeah, indeed. So, folks, thanks again for listening and watching. This will be available on Spotify as well. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the Ports TV YouTube channel, and we'll be back next week, all being well. Thanks very much.